Um, so I work at the Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History. I study human evolution and particularly the evolution of human diets. So I study fossil and modern animal bones to try to understand what role meat eating played in our evolutionary history. My research involves excavating early Stone Age sites, mainly in Africa. I get the opportunity to discover what our ancestors ate, basically reaching across time and uncovering direct evidence of our collective prehistory. I also study collections in museums around the world. And so when I walk into museum collections, I'm not just opening a door to a room full of dusty old objects. I'm literally opening a door to understanding the past. But my job also involves a lot of education and outreach, directly with museum visitors, training volunteers and docents, teaching university students, and online with our website and social media and online programs. So when I was thinking about what are my thoughts on how science and religion can work together for the common good, I'm going to take a little bit of a US perspective on this question, and it might be useful or not, I don't know, to note that my own personal background and beliefs are as what I would call an atheist Jew. So you may be surprised that as a scientist, my answer to this actually doesn't have to do with learning more science content. Please don't tell my colleagues, but I actually don't think it's of vital importance that members of the public know the specific dates of early human fossils or even the important milestones on the timeline of human evolution. I know. And there are two reasons for this. So the first reason is that my focus is not necessarily on inspiring the next generation of scientists with what I do. That's because I think science is captivating and cool enough to attract future scientists, although I think good mentors are also key. And I should say that I do think inspiring the next generation of scientists is an important thing to do. But I really want to help create the next generation of science literate citizens, people who vote for evidence-based science policies and science funding, and people who trust scientists. And that means, most importantly, helping people understand the process and nature of science and what motivates scientists to do the work that they do. Science is done by a group of people. But there are a lot of people out there who are scared of science. They feel like the ever growing body of knowledge of science means that scientists change their mind about things all the time. They might be intimidated by how complex some science really is. This makes them think that science isn't for them or not something that they can do. They may feel excluded from the entire scientific enterprise. Based on surveys of Americans about various professions, psychologists Susan Fiske and Cindy Dupree from Princeton University have concluded that scientists have the respect of the US public, but not their trust. So we are viewed as competent but cold. That's the phrase they used. And trustworthiness is a quality produced by a combination of perceived warmth and competence. So people often trust members of their own group with whom they know they share values, but for strangers, warmth is the quickest path to trustworthiness. So I'm going to come back to that. If a member of the public that I'm interacting with as a scientist is a person affiliated with a religious faith, which 78% of Americans are, according to the most recent Pew survey data, or if they're politically conservative, they may feel this lack of trust more acutely. They may have been told that scientists, especially scientists who study evolution, we do so expressly to target people of religious faith or to somehow disprove the existence of God. But that's not the case. Science can only investigate the natural world, and by definition, anything supernatural is outside of our bounds and outside of our lane. So I don't know about other scientists. Actually, I do a little bit, but I do what I do because I find endless wonder and awe in the natural world. I have questions and I want to understand more. I'm curious. And is this not an approach that many people of faith also have? We need to find these commonalities. The second reason, don't tell my colleagues this either, and by that I mean actually tell all of my colleagues, that cramming more information into people's heads should not be the goal of scientists' interaction with the public. That's a model of science communication called the information deficit model. It assumes that people just need more information and then they would accept and understand all the science. It does not work like that, and there are lots of studies out there that have data to support my viewpoint. So I'm going to end with telling you a story about when I participated in a Scientists is In program, a public program at the museum where I work in. This was pre-COVID. This was not in the Hall of Human Origins, where I often facilitate these programs, but it was in the context of the Bearded Lady Project, which is a documentary film and photographic project celebrating the work of female paleontologists and highlighting the challenges and obstacles that they face. And by the way, today is International Women in Science Day. So I had a mobile cart with some objects related to my research on it, but I also had some big printed photos from when I took my then 6-year-old son to the field with me in Kenya in the summer of 2018. So a mom and her two daughters approached my cart. I think one was probably in middle school, the other maybe upper elementary school. And they took a look at the objects, they took a look at the photos, asked me what I studied, and then the mom said, "Oh, so you believe in evolution?" And at that moment, I shifted the goalpost for my interaction. My objective was not to make sure that her daughters looked closely at the zebra bones on the cart to see the tooth marks left by lions that I watched eat their prey, or to hold the 1 million-year-old fossil elephant bone from Kenya and to actually see with their own eyes where early humans used stone knives to slice meat from it. Yeah, those would be great. But I wanted to make sure that they all felt heard and respected, that I met them on their level and that I didn't talk down to them, that I validated and answered their questions with enthusiasm and encouragement, and that maybe if I really hit my goal, I inspired them. That the daughters, when someone asks them later if they've ever met a scientist, they would think, "Oh, yeah, I met a scientist at the Smithsonian. She really loves what she does. And maybe I could do something like that one day." Thanks.